Yes, let's start today's session. So in the last session, just we started with the introduction to .NET. So in the last session, what we discussed, just I'll repeat it within 5 minutes. So this is we discussed in the last session, introduction to .NET. So .NET is the product of Microsoft, and what is .NET means? .NET is a framework tool which supports around 60 plus programming languages. In that, 9 programming languages are designed by Microsoft and remaining programming languages are designed by non-Microsoft. These are all list of 9 programming languages: C Sharp, VB, J Sharp, F Sharp, C++, .NET, JScript, Windows, PowerShell, Iron, Ruby, Iron, Python, like this. And as I said in the last session, to become a good programmer into .NET, I strongly recommend to learn four things. C Sharp .NET, it's a programming language which is used to write coding part for application development. And ASP.NET, that is stands for Active Server Page. It's a web technology, but make sure that ASP.NET is not a programming language. It is just a web technology or server-side technology, which is designed for websites or web pages. And along with that, SQL Server also required. This is for database design purpose. And including ADO.NET means it's a native driver. It stands for ActiveX Data Object. So these four things I'll cover in our session. Okay. So as I said, the 2 months, 2.5 months time duration is required. And why .NET means .NET is used to develop software or applications. Using .NET framework, we can able to develop these many applications like console applications, Windows Forms, web applications, Windows services, web services, model view controller, WPF applications, and WCF applications also, mobile applications, gaming applications, business applications. Okay. Yes, .NET was announced by Bill Gates in the year of 2000, and the first version of .NET was released in the year of 2002. And to write programs in .NET, I strongly recommend to download this Visual Studio software. It is just an editor tool. Editor means where we can write .NET code, where we can edit and compile and run the .NET code. That platform is called editor platform. Visual Studio is an editor tool which is going to be used to write .NET code here by using Visual Studio only. And there are .NET framework components are there. Two basic components are there. One is CLR, another one is base class library. These two components are very, very important in .NET application development. You can see this. Without base class libraries, you can't write any programming code. Without CLR, you can't run any programs. So execution purpose, CLR is required. Writing coding part purpose, we use base class library. Base class library or framework class library also we can call it as. These two things compulsory required. These are .NET framework components, we can say that. What is this? .NET framework components. See, as I said in the last session, I'll explain this two things in detail. Now I'm trying to explain these two things in detail. One is CLR, another one is base class library. First, we'll discuss about CLR. CLR, the name suggests common language runtime, means is used to provide runtime environment for all .NET programming languages which are commonly support. As I said, that .NET supports around 60 plus programming languages. For those languages, who will provide runtime environment means I can say CLR will provide runtime environment. And CLR is categorized into 4 subcomponents internally. First one is CLS. It stands for Common Language Specification. Common Language Specification. Yes, it is one of the subcomponent of CLR. Common Language Specification, we can say that. Common Language Specification. Common Language Specification. Next one is CTS. Common Type System. Common Type System. Common Type System. CTS. Common Type System. This is CTS. Next one is GC. Garbage Collector. GC means Garbage Collector. Garbage Collector. Next one is JIT, just-in-time compiler. JIT, just-in-time compiler. Just-in-time compiler. This is the second compilation of .NET program execution. Okay. So these four subcomponents are under comes into CLR, main component. These four subcomponents will play the important role in CLR. While executing the program, CLR is going to take responsible to provide runtime environment or execution environment for .NET applications. But while providing runtime environment, internally, these four subcomponents will play the important role. One is CLS, Common Language Specification. Another one is CTS, Common Type System. Another one is GC, Garbage Collector. Another one is JIT, Just-in-Time Compiler, we can say that. Okay. This is the four subcomponents are associated with main component called CLR. I'm telling that each and every subcomponent is having its own individual responsibilities. I tell you what is the responsible of CLS. You know, .NET supports around 60 plus languages. As a programmer, you can choose any language. For example, my requirement purpose, I'm choosing C#. You may choose VB.NET. Some other choose J# and F#, and so on. Okay. So depends on their uh, requirement, they can choose any language, no problem at all, any language. But each and every programming language syntactical rules and regulations are different, sir. C#.NET syntactical rules are different. VB.NET syntactical rules are different. J#.NET rules and regulations are different. Here I want to say one programming language rules cannot understand by other programming syntactical rules. But here common language runtime should understand all programming language syntactical rules and regulations are. Okay, common language runtime will provide all programming languages syntactical rules and regulations. Okay, so but CLR don't know. CLR don't know which programming language rules and regulations or which purpose they are using. CLR don't know. CLR cannot understand. Okay, that's what who will take responsible to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format means CLS will take responsible. The main purpose of CLS is it's taking responsibility to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. Because CLR can never understand different programming language syntactical rules and regulations. So even if you write code in C# or J# in any other languages of .NET, while executing, CLS will take responsible to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. It will convert that. Then only CLR can understand that. At the same time, common type system. Common type system is also called as what? Data type system. This is also called as data type system, sir. Data type system. Every programming language is having its own data type system. C# data type system is different. VB data type system is different. J# data type system is different. Same thing, one programming language data types cannot understand by other programming language. And yet CLR also can have its own data type system. CLR cannot understand any other programming language data type system. That's what while executing the code which we write in different programming languages data types, common type system will take responsible to convert different programming languages data type system into CLR data type system format. Then only CLR can understand the different languages data type system. Its own format it will understand, not in other languages format. Who will convert that all languages data type system into CLR format? CTS will take responsible to convert all data type system into CLR data type system mechanism. Because CLR can have its own data types. It cannot understand other languages data types. Yes, you can write the code in different languages. but I'm speaking while execution, this is going to convert. CLS will take responsibility to convert all programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. CTS will take responsibility to convert all programming language data type systems into CLR data type system format. Why? Because CLR can never understand other languages syntactical rules and regulations, other languages data type system mechanism. Okay, this is two components, subcomponents. For that purpose we use. Now coming to the third component, GC, garbage collector. Garbage collector means what? It is used to provide automatic memory management. What is the purpose of garbage collector, sir? Automatic memory management, we can say that. Yes. Generally, every programming language is required memory management. But in C#, .NET, in entire the .NET framework, who will provide memory management automatically means garbage collector will provide automatic memory management. That's what when we write a code as a .NET programmer, we will not involve with any memory management kind of code. Automatically memory management can be done by garbage collector itself. We have garbage collector, so that's what as a .NET programmer, we need not to concentrate to write memory management codes are, because garbage collector will take care of automatic memory management. At what time memory can be allotted, at what time memory can be de-allotted, that will take care internally. So what is the meaning of automatic memory management means? Automatic memory management is the process, okay, idled objects can be destroyed, useful objects can be keep as it is in the memory. So idled objects is nothing but what actually? These are called garbage. Idled objects means garbage, okay, garbage. And useful objects, okay, idled objects, then objects in use. Objects in use means these useful objects, these objects are useful to run your application. That is objects in use. Idled objects can be destroyed from the memory. Objects in use will keep in memory. This process is called automatic memory management. In simple way, I can say for objects in use, memory can be allotted. For idled objects, memory can be destroyed. This is process called automatic memory management. But how garbage collector will work, sir? What is the working nature of garbage collector? So I'll tell you in simple diagrammatic representation. Garbage collector working style here. Okay. So garbage collector is always worked with managed heap mechanism. Garbage collector will work with managed heap mechanism. Let me say this through diagrammatic representation. This is considered heap mechanism. I'm saying that garbage collector always will work with heap mechanism only. So this is garbage collector. Always garbage collector is divided into three generations. That is generation 0, generation 1, generation 2. Generation 0, generation 1, generation 2. But make sure that always generation 0 is less than, generation 1 is less than generation 2, sir. That means in terms of size, look at here, 10 MB memory for generation 0, 20 MB memory for generation 1, 30 MB memory for generation 2. But don't think so here 10 MB, 20 MB, 30 MB. Just I allotted in the program in the diagrammatic representation for understanding purpose. But in general, who will allot memory for garbage collector generations means what you know? CLR will allot. CLR will, common language runtime will allot. According to application size, according to project size, CLR will allot memory to the garbage collector generations. So just for understanding, because I have given this statement, no, generation 0 less than generation 1 less than generation 2 means always generation 0 is the small portion of the memory, generation 1 is medium, and generation 2 is large. So according to this equation, then just I allotted 10 MB, 20 MB, 30 MB just for understanding. But actually in reality, who will allot memory to the garbage collector generations means CLR will allot, because garbage collector is a part of CLR. While executing the code under the CLR, garbage collector will take responsible to memory allotment for your code whenever it is required. But whenever it is not required, then memory deallocation also is possible with garbage collector. That's what, as a programmer, you need not to write any explicit code for memory management, memory allocation purpose and deallocation purpose. We will not write any code. Here I'm explaining how garbage collector will work internally in C# .NET programming, especially. Now, as I said, that garbage collector is always work with managed heap. It's divided into three generations, 0 and 1 and 2. And there is a constant rule or thumb rule in garbage collector. All newly created objects must and should go and stored in generation 0 only. All newly created objects. Newly created object means whatever you are going to create the objects for application, that newly created object will go and stored in generation 0. Okay. Yes. So garbage collector don't have any right to place newly created objects either in generation 1 or in generation 2, sir. Yes. So assume that there is some objects are there like object 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 objects, generation 0 it's stored because all newly created objects. But later if I create as a programmer object 8, new object I'm creating. Generally according to our rules, so newly created objects should go and stored in where, sir? Generation 0 only. But unfortunately, for example, generation 0 is filled with all objects. 7 objects are full. Okay, generation 0 is there is no space. But object 8 is should stored in generation 0. In this situation, whenever generation 0 memory is going to become full, then garbage collector will perform a special method called collection means method. What method? Collection means method. Collection means. Collection means. Using this method, garbage collector will identify which objects are idled objects and which objects are objects in use. It will divide the objects into two categories. Idled objects can be destroyed from this generation 0. Useful objects means whichever objects are useful to run our application, that automatically flush down into generation 1. Look at here, according to this diagram, just 4, 5, 6, 7 are useful objects. So that's are available in generation 1. 1, 2, 3 are not useful objects. These are garbage objects. It can be destroyed from this generation 0. It can be destroyed from generation 0. Meaning is what? So now this time 1, 2, 3 objects can be destroyed from generation 0. 4, 5, 6, 7 are come down into generation 1. So finally generation 0 is become what's up? Empty. Then newly created object will go and stored in generation 0 now. So like this, garbage collector will provide automatic memory management. You may get doubts, sir, what happened when generation 0 and generation 1, both generations are going to become full? Again, automatically, garbage collector will perform a special method called collection means method, and it will find out in both generations like generation 0 and generation 1, whichever the objects are useful, whichever objects are not useful, it will find out. Useful objects will adjust to the generation 0 and generation 1. Garbage objects will be destroyed from this both generations. If useful objects are not adjusted in generation 0 and generation 1, at that time, generation 1 useful objects automatically flush down into generation 2. Generation 0 useful objects automatically flush down into generation 1. The newly created object will enter into generation 0. Like this is internal mechanism of garbage collector, how the memory is going to be allot and de-allot. Always garbage collector is having three generations only. You make it, sir, all generations are going to become full. What will happen? Yes, it never. Because I'm saying that automatic memory management. It depends on size or application size, then automatically memory size can be expanded. 10 MB will become 20 MB like this. Expansion of the portion of the memory will be expanded, but it never create a new generations. Okay. This entire the process, total garbage collector mechanism is what's a programmable. Programmable means Microsoft people already they written programming part for doing this kind of logic internally. So it is based on their programmability, it's going to work on it here. This is automatic memory management here. Because of the garbage collector automatic memory management only, as a .NET programmer, we need not to concentrate how to manage the memory and all. So just leave it about garbage collector only. So it will take care internally while executing the code under CLR. And JIT is the last component, as I said in the last session, while executing .NET program, how many compilation takes place? Two compilations. In a just-in-time compiler will involved in the second compilation of .NET program execution. So this just-in-time compiler will convert MSL code into CLR understandable format, and it will compile the code once again. This just-in-time compiler will do that. So these four subcomponents are associated with main component CLR. Each and every subcomponent is having its own individual task. So CLS will take responsible to convert each and every programming language syntactical rules and regulations into CLR understandable format. CTS will take responsible to convert each and every programming language data type system mechanism convert into CLR data type system format. Garbage collector will provide automatic memory management. Just-in-time compiler will compile the code in second compilation of the program. These four components are under comes into CLR. So finally, I'm just concluding. Without CLR, you can't run any .NET program. CLR will play the important role here. Coming to the next component, BCL, base class library, we can say that. Base class libraries or framework class libraries or assemblies also we can call it as. Yes, or assemblies. 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 The base class libraries are building blocks of .NET framework. Yes, base class libraries are building blocks of .NET framework. These base class libraries are just like header files in C++, packages in Java. So C++ programmers, how they'll use header files before going to write the coding part, and Java programmers, how they'll use packages before going to write the program. So in .NET, we use base class libraries. This also called as namespaces. Yes, I'll talk about namespaces in coding part, don't worry. But base class libraries are building blocks of .NET frameworks. These base class libraries automatically gets installed when we install .NET framework software into your computer. So what is the physical location of base class library means? This is the physical location of base class libraries are. So what is that? Root drive, root drive, root drive, colon, OS folder, that means operating system folder, then assembly folder, assembly folder, assembly folder. Root drive means C drive / OS folder means operating system folder, that is Windows folder / then assembly folder, assembly folder. C : Windows assembly like this. Okay. C : Windows assembly. Let's go and check it in my computer already installed .NET framework. Just double click on C drive, like C drive, and there is a Windows folder, double click on it. And there is assembly folder, double click on it. Now MSL code is there, double click on it. So these are all built-in libraries which will come automatically when we install .NET Framework software. You'll able to see this after installation of .NET Framework software. So without base class libraries, we can't write any .NET program. So base class libraries are very, very important to us. Okay, that's what these are building blocks of .NET Framework, we can say that. But always base class libraries are in the form of two different ways. One is .exe, next one is DLL. Yes, DLL. DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library, we can say that. Dynamic Link Library. What is the difference between .exe and DLL? .exe is nothing but it's an executable file. It will run directly or individually. As soon as when we double click on .exe, you will get an output. How you will get an output? Because .exe is an having entry point. Entry point is nothing but static void main method. Yes, main method is nothing but entry point of the program. So .exe is nothing but executable file. It will run individually. So .exe is having an entry point, that is main method of the program is called entry point. That's what it will run individually. But when it comes to DLL, DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library. DLL means Dynamic Link Library. It is just a supportive file. It's not a main file. Why? Because it will not run directly. It don't have any main method like entry point. It don't have. So it is just a supportive file. It will support to .exe while it is executing in the form of adding libraries. Required libraries will be added to .exe file. And moreover, DLL file is very, very important in .NET because if you want to provide reusability, means, for example, one of the application purpose, if you write logic code, once we prepare for that logic DLL file, you can use this DLL file into any of other application also. Directly code will come to there with secured manner, so you can able to reuse it. This is very important concept in .NET. So how to prepare DLL file, how to reuse also in our session. I'll tell you in a practical implementation. Okay. Yes, DLL is just for reusability. Once we have a DLL file with logic code, that DLL files we can attach to any other applications for further usage. So this is the importance of DLL and .x. These two under comes into base class libraries. I'm just concluding this. Without base class libraries, you can't write .NET program. Without the CLR, you can't run .NET program. Execution is important. Writing code is important. For that, we use .NET Framework components. This is complete .NET program introduction, .NET framework introduction completely. Now let's flip to our main thing. So as I said that first we'll start with C#, .NET, then after ASP.NET. So as I said in the last session also, first every 4 days, first week, most probably next week onwards, we'll go through this. Monday to Thursday, C#, .NET sessions will continue, and every Friday, Saturday, SQL Server sessions will continue. Okay. Yes. After that, as completion of C# and SQL Server, then we'll start later ASP.NET with ADO.NET. First, let me start today just basic introduction of C#.NET. Yes. First in
Sir,
C#,
one question.
tell me.
One question. Sir, yeah, SQL Server and MySQL, any difference is there? MySQL and SQL Server?
There's lots of differences there. MySQL is different queries and SQL is different queries, but Oracle also different queries. So PLSQL is different queries. Databases only all one category. See,
Okay.
Java is a programming language, C# is a programming language, Python is a programming language, C++ programming language. Difference is there
Correct.
or not?
Yeah, yeah,
Same like
correct.
SQL is a database, Microsoft SQL Server is a database, MySQL is a database, DB2 is a database, Oracle is a database. Different criteria they can use any database. But mostly .NET programmers strongly recommend to learn SQL. But even in reality also they used to handle that completely database connectivity with Microsoft SQL Server only. That's what we used to teach SQL Server. It doesn't
Okay,
mean
okay.
that .NET do not support other databases. No, undoubtedly using .NET, using C# with ASP, if you want to connect with MySQL, you can do, Oracle you can do, even Microsoft Access also you can do, any database it will support. But majority of the applications, once you go to real-time orientation, then when we are trying to develop a .NET kind of applications, they used to prefer mostly SQL Server only. So that's what better to learn SQL Server with the .NET combination. But even I can say if you are in the Java combination, I can strongly prefer Oracle only, because most of the Java developers will go prefer at the database side Oracle only, not SQL. They will not recommend. So that combination is there. Only combination is just for managing the things. It doesn't mean that even Java also support with SQL, Java also it supports with Oracle, that also different. But majority consideration point of view. So because .NET Framework, .NET, C#, .NET, ASP.NET, these are all Microsoft products. So Microsoft product, why Microsoft product they don't use? Obviously SQL Server is the product of Microsoft. Their product only they'll use. Why they'll choose other product? Not required. So that's the reason. So we'll start with C# .NET introduction. C#. So what is C#? C# is a programming language, okay, which is used to write logic part for the application development. And C# is most powerful programming language. Why? Because it's purely object-oriented programming language. Yes. So in C#, we can write basic programming and functional oriented programming and object oriented programming. Yes, we'll do object oriented programming language code. So object-oriented principles will support encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, inheritance, and so on. And in C#.NET is a high-level and case-sensitive programming language. High-level programming language, and it is a general-purpose programming language. General purpose means using C#.NET, any kind of application development is possible, not only specific kind of applications. General purpose means any kind of applications we can develop using C#.NET. And it's moreover, it's a case sensitive programming language. Case sensitive means How the way you declare the variables and class names and functions while accessing same way how to access. In different way, it's not possible to access. So that you have to keep. So in C Sharp.NET, basic application will start. In that application, I'll cover everything from top to bottom, even including object-oriented programming principles also I'll cover. That application name is called console application. Yes, so you should have strong knowledge on this application to become a good programmer. So console application, I'm going to discuss. What is console application, sir? As I said, that console application is a standalone or a desktop application. Yes, console application is a standalone or desktop application. Desktop application. So standalone or desktop application means once we design and develop console kind of application, in which computer you are trying to install on that machine only you can able to work on it. So in different computers, so you cannot able to share the information around the globe. It's not possible. It's fixed with or limited with some missions only, standalone or desktop application. And console application will provide completely CUI facilities. CUI stands for Command User Interface, Command User Interface, or Character User Interface, we can say that. So these console application programs, just like C++ programs, how we write C language code and C++ code when we go for execution, how it will show in the command prompt output. Same like in console application programs also. CUI, Command User Interface, or Character User Interface, but conceptually it is very strong. So because you have to get strong knowledge from this area, so object oriented programming principles and loops concept and data types and arrays and lot of things need to be discussed within this console application. How strong knowledge you have conceptually, and in coming sessions in ASP.NET, in other services, this logic only you can use in real-time development. So console application is a standalone or a desktop application, and console application will provide CUI facilities, no GUI facilities, no graphical user interface, only command user interface. And in console application, console is a class. What is this, sir? Console is a class. Yes, it's a class. It's a predefined class. Console is a class which is present in system namespace. Yes, system namespace. System namespace means system header file, we can say that. So if you don't use system header file or system namespace, then console class will not work out. Console is a class which is present in system namespace. So if you don't use system namespace while writing the program, console class will not work out, sir. Okay, it's compulsory required. It's a predefined class, and console class is used to work with input and output stream. Yes, console class is used to work with input and output stream. Input and output streams, sir. Means what? If you want to give input to the application, then we should use console class. At the same time, if you want to get any output from the application, again console class is required. So console class is like that only. And console class is having methods. Very basic important methods are there. Write method and the write line method. Here W is a capital. As I said that C Sharp.NET is a case sensitive programming language. So W is a capital. W is a capital, L is a capital, write line. These two methods. And third method is read method, read method. Fourth method is read line method, read line method, read line, write and write line, read and read line method. Okay, so these two methods are important in the console application. So what is the purpose of write and write line methods are? See how we use in C++ printf scanf method. Printf is for output, scanf is for input. Here also same in console application. Write line methods are output purpose. Yes, if you want to display something to the user in the output format, then we can use write and write line methods. These two methods are output methods, we can say that. But what is the main difference between these two methods? Means write method, when we use your output statements, all will be displayed in the same line only. It will not display in the line by line. If at all you want to display line by line, then you can go for write line method. Okay, so write method is used to display statements on the screen within the same line, whereas write line method is used to display statement onto the screen line by line. This is for output only. But read and read line methods are input. Yes, not only output printing. Sometimes we need to read user input values also. user need to enter the values at running time. That values you have to accept it as a programming part. So that's what inside program we should use read and read line. So read means it will read user inputs. Okay, it will read input from the user. Read line also will read input from the user. For example, difference between read and read line means what? Suppose I'm asking enter name, enter name. Just I'm asking enter name. You have to enter the name, like Durga I'm entering. The name is Durga. This is treat as my input. Okay, just treat it as my input here. My input is Durga. I am giving input, but this input should read by the application. So in that application, I'm using read method. How read method will read this input means, yes, read method will read single character at a time. D first it will read, then after U, then after R, then after G, then after A. One by one character and single character only will read. That is read method. But whereas read line method will read group of characters all together at a time it will read. Okay. But read method will read ASCII value of the character. You know, every alphabetic character is having ASCII value. That ASCII value is what number format. So that's what return type of read method is what's a integer. Return type of read method. Return type of read method is what's a integer only. Why return type of read method in integer means read method will read single character or next character. That too read method will read only ASCII value of the character. That's what that ASCII value is a number format. It read that ASCII value. So that's what return type of read method is integer. But whereas read line means read line will read group of characters. So group of characters means what? String. So that's what return type of read line method is what, sir? String only we can say that. String. This you have to remember. Read method, read line methods are used to read user inputs, but read method will read only single character, that too ASCII value of the character. That's what return type of read method is integer. Read line method will read group of characters, that is return type is string because group of characters are string format only. Okay, so these four methods we'll discuss in practical orientation. You don't worry that. Okay, this is just basic introduction of console application. But how to create console applications are? To create console application, I strongly recommend to download a software first. As I said, to write a .NET program, so compulsory one editor software is required, sir. What software? Visual Studio. But how to get that Visual Studio software, sir? You can see, go to Google, and first thing, how to get the Visual Studio software, I'll tell you. Now you can see, go to Google and simply download Visual Studio 2019. You can see this, download Visual Studio 2019. Okay, yes. So once we type download Visual Studio 2019, you will be able to see that first link of the Visual Studio editor. Now you can say https://visualstudio.microsoft.com downloads option is there. Just click on this first link. As soon as when we click on the first link, you will be able to see the three options in front of you here: community, professional, enterprise edition. So community means it's powerful IDE, free for students, open source contributors and individuals. This is free download option. Professional editors, if we go, then professional ID for best suited for small teams. That this is free trial, not free download. Free trial version only. Means only hardly you can able to work with 1 month. After 1 month, your evaluation period will be expired, and you need to purchase from Microsoft. This is license version. Enterprise edition also, it is scalable and end-to-end application. So for a team of any size, means a large size of team, those who wants to work with the product, then they can use enterprise. And it's also free trial. These two are licensed version. So I cannot recommend this and this. I'll recommend to you this only community version. It is a free and open source for contributors and faculty members or students. And even you can click on free download version, you will get downloaded file. What file? Visual Studio 2019.exe file. So after downloading, okay, after downloading, how to install, sir? Nothing will be there while installation. So just next, install it. Even if you are getting confusion while installation, okay, if you don't know how to install this Visual Studio software, so I strongly recommend to go to YouTube, and you can see this, type in the YouTube simply steps to download, steps to install Visual Studio, steps to install Visual Studio, Visual Studio, Visual Studio 2019. This is the thing. Once you write steps to install Visual Studio 2019, you'll be able to get these two links here. You can see how to download and install Visual Studio 2019, or else how to download and install Visual Studio 2019 step by step. You can follow these two videos. It's very simple way you can understand that if at all you don't know. Okay. So because I strongly recommend while downloading and installing Microsoft Outlook account also. Why? Because once we have a Microsoft Outlook account, then even when we go for community edition, after 1 month period that will ask you to update your software. So how to update means while giving Microsoft Outlook user ID and password only, you can able to update that. Once you updated that, then nothing to worry. So lifetime you can able to use that software. So updation is required. So that's what better to create your Microsoft Outlook account. Just simple way that while installation only, they will tell you clearly how to create Microsoft account. If still you are not able to download and install, please let me know. Let me know that I'll show you clearly in our session how to download and install preparation, all those things. Don't worry that. Okay. So ready with that Visual Studio software, and we'll go through coding part. We'll start in tomorrow's session coding part, how to create console application, how to open Visual Studio, where to get that class files and all, complete setup and folder creations, project creations. I'll tell you in detail in tomorrow's session. Okay. So that's all for today. So do you have any questions? Feel free to ask me now. So in tomorrow's session, we'll continue with C#.NET programming part. We'll start how to create project, how to add classes into that project, how to handle your code, okay, how to write the code, how to execute, how to change startup object. First basics things compulsory you should know that. Then onwards you can easily practice that C#.NET logics into Visual Studio environment. First of all, you should aware of that Visual Studio setup environment. I'll give clear details about that environment. So any questions from your side, you can ask me now. Otherwise, you can leave it and join tomorrow at same time on same link. We'll start with coding part. Okay. Yes. See you tomorrow, sir. Have a nice day.